Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me today. On today's show, I've got the wide receiver coach for Kansas University, Coach Coach Terrance Samuel on today. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
All right, yeah, thanks for being on. So, tell us a little bit about your day. How was your day today? How did everything go?
Well, good. I mean, like I said, we finished our last little bit of mini camp, and now we're gonna give the guys a little bit of some time off, about 3 days off, and then we'll get started on Tuesday. We bring them back on Monday, and then we get started and getting physical on Tuesday.
All right, all right. So, what are you going to do in those 3 days? You off as well? The coaching staff off?
Well, like I said, yeah, today's my son's birthday. So, before he goes off to college, I get to, go hang around and throw a big steak at him. And then after that, we'll try to just enjoy the weekend.
Right. Okay. Well, that sounds like fun. So why don't you go ahead and kind of tell us a little bit about Coach T. Sam, your early career, high school, and things like that.
Yeah. Like I said, just a poor old boy from Houston, Texas. Just got, just had an opportunity to, I played high school football, middle school. I mean, of course, elementary, and was lucky enough and blessed enough to be able to get a scholarship, from Nimitz High School in Houston, in the Aldine area. Played wide receiver a lot. Played quarterback a lot.
That I didn't know.
Played running back.
I saw that in your bio, the quarterback. I didn't know that. That was
yeah. That's I mean, some people would say that was my natural position. Some people would say playing wide receiver was my natural position, but I enjoyed playing them both, and I think I probably would have been a higher recruited player because, like I said, I played wide receiver my junior year, and due to the fact that we didn't really have a good enough quarterback, my senior year I got moved to quarterback, and like I said, if I'd have probably played my junior year at quarterback, might have been something different. Might have, if we'd had a quarterback and I'd have played my junior and senior year at wide receiver, could have been something different. But I was one of those good enough athletes naturally to just pick up on things. And I'd like to think I was smart enough to understand what we were trying to get done at that time. And, like I said, athletically enough, gifted enough to put myself in a position to get a scholarship. And that worked out well for me. I was in a situation at Nimitz at the time. I mean, we hadn't went to the playoffs and we hadn't done much. And then my senior year, I mean, we put together a good run, and we beat the runner-up for state. I mean, Aldine, senior high was one of the better teams in the state. They played in the state championship game, and we were the only team that beat them. So one of the better games, I think, in my career. It was just one of those teams where, like I said, our senior year, we had a bunch of seniors that, that were pretty athletic, and, we really had a good senior year, but, we ended up losing to MacArthur and then losing to Eisenhower, and kind of kicked us out of the playoffs, which was really disappointing because we were, at the time that we had beat Aldine, and I mean, we were one of the higher rated teams in the Houston area. And of course, I played with Aaron Glenn, who's the head coach for the Jets. He was my running back during that time. And, so we had players. I mean, we had about 5 or 6 guys go Division I, so it was lucky. I was blessed, and then, like I said, was able to go to Purdue and play college ball. I had a knee injury early, right after prom. I was in a little car accident, and I ended up, kind of messing my knee up. Ended up having a torn PCL in there, and I ended up having to play, my entire 5 years, with that. And I learned early that football can be taken away from you, and you have to have a plan. You have to know you maximize all the opportunity and the resources that you have. Now, I wish I could have done it better, and I think that's one of the things that, in my recruiting, I think I'm able to convey to guys that, hey, you're one injury away. You need to make sure you maximize all of the resources that are available to you, and maximize it and meet people. Now, I'm saying that because I didn't quite do that as much. I took care of my grades, but I always football is I'm gonna make sure I make the most out of football, but in a certain way, I feel like I could have did football better. So there's two components to that whole deal: is maximizing football as best you can by studying film, getting bigger, stronger, but then also the resources and getting to know people on campus, and all those people that can help you get your job and get you started on your way after college. Those are the two components of that. I wish I could have done better. Okay, but I really try to make sure that I convey that to my guys that I'm responsible for in recruiting and the guys that are in my wide receiver room to, because that's in the long run, coaching football is great, but the relationships and the connections you get with some of these guys, they are for a lifetime. Yeah. So I want to make sure that they know that, I cared enough about them to try to put them in the right situation, and I'm coming from a good place if I got to get on them or if I'm trying to share some knowledge, I'm just coming from a good place with it.
Yeah. So how well does that go over with the college student? I mean, they're young men, but how well does that go over with them not having your wisdom of the things that you've been through, and they haven't been through those things yet? So, how do they normally take that?
Well, what essentially ends up happening is they're ready when they're ready. If you're not ready for the information, if you're not ready for the knowledge, you can't apply it.
Yeah.
If you can't understand it, you definitely can't apply it. So it's when their maturity is, when their perspective, when they're slowed up enough to know that, okay, this old man just told me something. I do my best to try to, because it just can't be one opportunity of I'm trying to share something with them that might help them in their life and how they maximize the opportunity. It's continuous. You can't give up. I mean, Purdue was great, but like I said, I didn't maximize it the way I wanted to. And, I coach from a perspective of how I wanted to be coached, so I do try to live from the perspective of I'm not going to give up on my players, and I'm going to try to be there for them for, till at least I'm seeing, them having kids and getting married. And, that's when they'll have to make the decision to kick me out of their life, so I'm going to be here.
Right.
But everything that revolves around this deal is, are they really ready to take it? Are they mature enough to take the information and then apply it?
Yeah.
You keep coaching, you keep mentoring, and somewhere along the line, that light will come on and they'll be like, okay, all right, he is trying to help me. He is trying to guide me. And then they realize they can trust and then they can act on some things.
Okay.
But I found in my coaching that if I don't know my player, how can I develop my player? If I'm not truly a part of his life, how is there going to be trust enough for me to coach them hard to get them over the hump when they think they can't get there, think that they're done?
Yeah.
You have to be there with them, when some bad times and some good times, and for them to know that they can trust you and you'll be there. You'll be dependable.
Yeah.
So that's the perspective. It's not X's and O's for me. It's never been X's and O's. I love X's and O's, but seeing a kid take a concept, take some of that knowledge and apply it, that's the drug.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, so you mentioned, your coaching career. So let's jump into that about where you started and, where you've been. 'Cause I looked at your resume and it's impressive. I mean, some of the things you've helped your teams accomplish. So I'll let you tell it, man. I wouldn't do it justice. I'll let you tell it.
Well, I volunteer coached in 1997 at the Nebraska Omaha. My dad was working at the Union Pacific at the time, and I was thinking about whether or not I was going to go into, get on with UP or going, or my other opportunity was, to go into the FBI. And so, when I say I volunteered, I was looking to see if I could find a graduate assistant to help pay for my master's. And one of the two places that, gave me an opportunity was Nebraska Omaha. So I started there, volunteered in 97, started my true master's in 98, and was there for 3 years, got my master's. Right about the time I was about to go take when I got my master's, I was going to take the test and everything. And then I had an opportunity to go to University of Arizona and be a graduate assistant there for John Malkovich and the staff there, and which was a great opportunity. So I was like, well, I'll just put the FBI off for a little bit because you just don't know how long you're going to be coaching. So did that for 2 years. Then I left and I ended up getting a job back at University of Nebraska at Omaha, being their DB coach. So that was first time being on the dark side. Coached DBs for 2 years and then coached linebackers for 1 more year and was special teams coordinator and things of that nature.
That's one thing that jumped out to me is some of your defensive coaching skills. I didn't know you crossed the line and went over there, so that's good on you.
Yeah. I would suggest that anybody that gets into coaching and you want to coach at the college level, don't pick a position. Okay, coach on the offensive side, coach on the defensive side. My perspective was I wanted to stay a wide receiver coach because I played wide receiver. It was just natural to me, But when I went to the dark side and got on defense and I started to see things from a different perspective, it helped me coach on offense when I got back. So to say that I'm more well-rounded. How I see the game, the chess pieces, how they're moving, how they fit, gap cancellation, and things of those nature. That was what being on defense gave me. And like I said, it made me able to understand concepts quicker, made me able to coach it and communicate it faster. And like I said, that started my career because then after I left Nebraska, Omaha, I went to Southeast Missouri, SEMO, and was coaching the wide receivers again and did that for a year. It was the first time kind of being 1AA, moving up, thinking, hey, I'm going to get a better check. That check wasn't that much better. And then very next year, so my daughter had already been born. So I'm in SEMO and my family's still in Omaha. So I spent about 1.5 years away from my baby girl. And that was something I was like, no, that's, I don't think I want to do this ever again. So when I was offered the offensive coordinator position at Nebraska Omaha again, so went back, and then of course my son was born that very same year, but I'm with my family and did that for a year, and then the next thing you know, North Dakota State called. So went to North Dakota State, was lucky enough to be there with Coach Bowles for 2 years before they went on the national championship run. So I didn't get any piece of that, but it was fun watching those guys win the national championship, several years in a row. And then, but from there, I went to Central Michigan. So went to Central Michigan with Dan Enos when he was starting up his program, and almost was coaching Antonio Brown.
Oh, really?
He was coming out. That was his junior year, and he was deciding whether or not he wanted to come out as a junior or stay for 1 more year. And if you know anything about Antonio, he was ready to go to the NFL. And I still to this day, that was the best pro day I've ever seen.
Oh, really?
The feet, the hands. That guy, that was the best pro day I ever seen. And after that, I was like, hey man, you go ahead and go to league. I see you on Sunday, on TV.
Yeah.
So was lucky enough to, like I said, do that. And then, a position at Michigan State opened up, and I interviewed for it, and Coach D'Antonio hired me. So I was only at Central Michigan for a short year, and next thing you know, I'm at Michigan State, and I'm back in the Big Ten. So it was a really good opportunity, great run. We was able to win a couple of Big Ten championships and had a couple of wide receivers that did some really good things. And just like anything, you can't. We stayed there 9 years, and as much as you wanted to stay, you wanted to do some things better and continue to win. Things didn't work out that way, and that's college football. You just, as much as you want to stay to some place, it's hard.
Yeah.
So went on ahead and we left. I went to UNLV. Passing game coordinator at that time, another new program. We played 6 games and didn't win a game.
Oh, really?
When they Yeah, when they finally opened it up,
Yeah,
it was one of the roughest things because, like I said, you're trying to teach kids, but you can't have meetings with them.
yeah.
You're
Totally
trying to teach
understand.
kids, and they're falling asleep on you.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
that
coach,
was interesting.
what was the biggest takeaway that you got from all of that before to where you are now at Kansas? Was it something that you just grabbed a hold and something that was just like a light bulb for you that whenever you got there, it just kind of
Yeah.
turned it on?
Well, I mean, long story short, I mean, if you don't know your players, you can't get the most out of them.
Right.
I mean, I know I kind of said that earlier, but I mean, there's so many different types of coaches. I mean, there's the guy that's the X and O guy that is really, really good with seeing how this scheme possibly could turn out. But the human factor is always the factor. I think that, that's the one that I thrive in, getting my guys to play at a high level. I think play at a high level. But you know, it's an 18-year-old, 22-year-old, who's still stumbling, who's still trying to figure themselves out. And you're trying to hopefully get them to right the ship and make a play when they're supposed to make a play. So the epiphany is that, you have to support these kids. You have to be, available. They need to see who you are, in order to get the most out of them.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't be some guy that's unavailable to these young men to get them to get to where they want to get to.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing for me is just understanding my players.
So what is the there's always going to be someone, a player or something that's not going to agree, or it's going to be a little bit harder to reach. Is there a different approach? I know there's a different approach, but do you have a certain way that you attack that? Not attack, but there's a way that you handle that and try to get them in the right path and back on the program?
Well, what you try to do is, I mean, you hit it from different angles. My personality is going to be my personality. I can adjust to a certain degree, but just like when you're talking about with your kids, hey, you might be arguing with your daughter, but your daughter's got to understand that you're still going to be who you are in the midst of your argument. Right. So, I mean, what I try to do is I may get our offensive coordinator involved. I may get our head coach involved, and say, hey, this is something I'm feeling. I mean, maybe you can come at it at a different angle. You have a village, okay? We have a village to help mold these kids, mold these young men. So sometimes it takes the village, to come like our strength coach. You got a great strength coach like we do, Coach Gildersleeve. He gets involved with guys and he's giving perspective and he's helping mold them but still coach guys hard. So it comes at a lot of different angles. You have to be willing. You can't be, for me, I understood at a certain point. When I first started coaching, I thought I could save every player. You feel like you can save every player, but as you start to get a little bit older, you start to realize, number one, you're setting your ways a little bit as far as how you see some things, but you need to be able to use all your resources in your football program to help mold the players. And like I said, having a great strength coach that really has a great perspective like we do at Kansas, that makes things so much more easier. I mean, AK does an amazing job of touching players that, they could be up or down, and he brings them back to normal.
Yeah.
So when you have a good staff that you can throw other bullets at the players other than just yourself, sometimes you can save your relationship too with the player because they're not just hearing some hard information, some hard truths from just you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You have to spread around sometimes the good cop, bad cop.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Support is very critical, and just something that can be felt. So I know there's a lot of scouting that goes on. It's probably just unbelievable. I mean, we can't even imagine the information that you guys get.
Yeah.
I understand you build a game plan around that and build a scheme around it, offensive scheme around that. But what is your just overall grasp on aggressiveness? How much do you like to be aggressive, or how much do you like to hang back, or can you elaborate?
Well, as you start to game plan teams and you see what they do, there's areas Like everything's in segments. You got red zone, you got, open script, you got, backed up. The teams are going to do what they do. And aggressiveness, if you can have an aggressive quarterback that's just going to throw the ball deep, I mean, it is what it is. Yeah. But when you're play calling, you're looking at situations where you can be aggressive. Okay, so it's not just, I want to be aggressive, I'm just going to be aggressive, I'm just going to keep throwing the ball. No. To be balanced, you need to be able to run, you need to be able to throw, and that is opportunistic. Here I want to, because I know they're going to blitz from the field, or I know they're going to blitz from the boundary. We know we want to be able to run on first and second down. We want to make sure we get to these soft spots. Mm-hmm. All right. When we know those soft spots present themselves and first and second down and our play actions, all right, now we know we can throw this because they're going to avoid these zones. We can be aggressive in that instance in regards to play calling. Sometimes it depends on the flow of your quarterback. How are you getting him in the flow depending on the aggressive nature of your play calling? If he's not feeling it, if some of the plays, the passes that you've been working all week, if he's not in a rhythm with it, then you better be relying on the run game. Yeah. Until you can get him in rhythm. Okay. The ebbs and flows.
I was going to say that brings in adaptiveness. If something's not going well, you have to be that on the fly. Change that.
It is not just being aggressive to be aggressive. It's, adapting to what you're expecting out of the situations.
Right, yeah. So I would imagine since you started at Omaha and you started your career, mm-hmm. the recruiting process has changed a whole lot. It's probably completely different from when you first started. So what is that like? I mean, just kind of like your day-to-day, your stops that you make, how does that break down?
Yeah. Recruiting wise, if you're talking now, getting from point A to point B with a player, when you're just dealing with a player versus recruiting for the wide receiver position, everything, first and foremost, we have a recruiting department that is really, really good at, identified players. Right. So from that perspective, then I can get information of, all right, this player has interest, this player doesn't have interest, this player has the skill set we're looking for, he's got height, he's got speed, he's a baller, So once you start to get things narrowed down to guys that have the skill set you want, then you start to say, okay, let me make sure I make these phone calls and see if there's a legitimate interest. Mm-hmm. When there's legitimate interest and you think that there's going to be a good fit, you call kids a little bit more. Sometimes you find out pretty quickly that where you are in the pecking order, like if a kid is a 4 and 5 star and he's not really filling your program, it's time and money.
Right.
I rather recruit players that want to be where I'm at. When you have players that when they want to be there, and they want to be in the program and they want to be coached, you can develop them faster.
That makes sense.
If a player comes in and he's not, committed to the program, he thinks he's God's gift to the program instead of being, I'm here for the program to make the program get better. That's when you have issues and that guy runs. He's a midnight runner.
Oh, yeah.
So, the key is you got to be able to find those kids that want to be invested in the program to make the program where it hasn't been taken. Yeah. So that's what you're trying to sort out in the midst of, because it's easy to see the skill set. The skill set's there. Mm-hmm. Can you get this player to buy in to your program? That's going to be the key. Yeah. Through relationships. And of course, I think I recruit parents very well. Mm-hmm. So, I recruit the players, but I recruit the parents, and you just try to make sure that, hey, we're all on the same page. We're going to communicate. We're going to be open, because as a recruiter, here's the deal. If the parents are with you and they can help motivate and get that player going in the right direction, that's great. Again, that's an extending the village.
Right.
Okay, we're extending the village. Yeah. The more we all are helping this young man make the most of this opportunity, the better for the program. Yeah. He's going to maximum. He may. What I envision is that a player comes in, and then by the time he leaves, like a Devin Neal. Devin Neal shouldn't have to play for lunch or dinner ever while he's in Lawrence, Kansas.
Yeah.
That's what you hope that the resources of a university embrace that your son or daughter.
Yeah.
And then that they're legends. So that's what you want. But that's the recruiting piece. The ones that do great things are the ones that are bought in.
Yeah.
I have yet to see a player who was not bought into your program last in the program, stays in the program, and maximize his skill set.
Yeah. It's hard if, like you say, if your head's not there, then your body's not going to be there as well. So and it shows
100%.
up. I know you guys can tell that. I mean, you can tell by body language and the way they work out, and
100%.
Just pretty much all of it. So I'm sure you've seen all of it too, all the whole gambit of all the different type of players.
Almost 29 years worth. I mean, because like I said, even from my recruiting to the way I was recruited, it was December and January. That's when the recruiting happened. And then you sign, in February. So and now these kids, with the different windows and things of that nature, it's totally different. The whole NIL component, the portal, all this is just so different, and it's changing the way people coach. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But, as I said, if the parents appreciate the village that the son is coming into the program, you work hand in hand and we maximize everything. Yeah. But there's some parents that come in and they think that their child is the best thing since sliced bread, and they're above the program. So, and that's where like I said, you have the issues.
Yeah. I know summer's about wrapping up. It's getting pretty close to being done. And when do you guys actually go back, and when actually does the fall camp start?
Well, we get back on Monday, start some meetings and things of that nature. And then Tuesday, we rocking and rolling. So once we get to Tuesday, Tuesday is practice. And we'll hit it hard, and we'll go until, like I said, it's time to go play Long Island. Yeah. And like I said, looking forward to it. Got some good possibilities. So we're really feeling good about the team. But, you never know until you play your first game.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. So why don't you give out your socials and how we can get a hold of you, your KU socials and your whatever you want to give out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, of course, if you ever need me, I'm on Twitter. So it's Coach T Samuel. At Coach T Samuel. And it's the same thing that's for Instagram or, and even Facebook. It's Coach T Samuel. I'm probably not the most savviest social media guy, but I make sure that, when I'm hit up, I do respond, and I think that's probably it. It's just, from Twitter to Instagram to Facebook. Those are the places where you can hit me.
Okay. All right. And one final question that I try to ask everybody. Sometimes I forget, but is there a song, TV show, or a movie that you'd be embarrassed about if your friends knew about it? Something that would be embarrassing to you.
Oh, wow. Embarrassed. No. See, anytime you ask me about a movie, I'm a Matrix guy through and through. So, Matrix from V for Vendetta. Let's see. I probably say one of my I watched Hawk this week, so, I laughed a little bit at the Will Ferrell deal, and I don't know if I probably should have laughed sometimes, but, so that's probably my only guilty pleasure. I started that interview with a vampire on AMC for a little bit, and, that was an interesting one too. Okay. So,
I saw the trailers for it. I didn't actually watch it.
Was that?
I said I just saw the trailers. I didn't actually watch it. I didn't.
I watched a couple, and then I was like, I don't know if I should watch the rest of this, but because I'm a vampire, I'm a horror movie guy.
Oh, you okay?
You give me horror movies. The whole Anne Rice thing with vampire, I think that's an interesting genre, whatever. But that was intense.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, Coach, I appreciate you dropping by and thank you for your time. And we'll be catching up and checking out KU this year, seeing how everything's going. But don't be a stranger. Just hit me up whenever you got a minute or whatever, and I'll talk to you later, man. Thanks a lot.
All right. Hey, thank you for having me. And like I said, I mean, hey, trust me, if you need anything, I'm here. But I do appreciate you, asking me to do this and being a part of this. This has been great.
Oh, yes, sir. You're welcome, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you much.
Yes,
all right, now. Take care.
All right.